Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 229. It is November 16th, 2014. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
And I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. Um, if you hear weird noises in the background, I'm in my basement and there's a kitchen over there. And for some reason, you can hear the washing machine drain through the pipe. I don't know what that is, but hopefully it's not too distracting. um, anyway, so this is a knitting podcast. Do you want to go with your works in progress?
Sure. My very first new thing that I have on the needles is the Ricky hat. It's Rikke.
I love that hat.
It is, yeah, you have one. I do not.
Mm-hmm.
It is a garter stitch hat. The brim is worked on size 4 needles, and then you go up to size 7 needles. I'm still on the brim.
Mm-hmm.
I am using Invictus Yarns Unbowed DK in the Etta colorway.
It's a really nice blue.
It's really nice, and it reminds me a little bit of Volmaiza DK. It could be because the color that I'm working on in the Volmaiza DK is this color, but it's got a lot of flies. Let me take it apart in my tail. One. I broke a nail. My thumbnail's completely shorn off, so it's making picking things apart quite fun. It's at least a 3-ply, maybe more. It looks like it's more. It's super round with it lots of twist.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it's got bounce to it as well.
Yep, if I go that way. Yeah, there's at least 4 plies. It's a 4-ply. That was easier than trying to pick it apart. So yeah, lots of bounce, lots of energy. Would be great for cables, but I'm not doing cables. I'm doing garter stitch. I actually was going to knit one of the new Botanical Knits 2 hats by Alana Dacos. But it's a lace pattern, and I was afraid the lace would get hidden by the high bounce of the yarn. So it was hard for me to find a DK weight pattern that I liked for 220 yards. That was like, I had the option of doing like a Milo baby sweater, but I want this for me because it's yarn. So it made it a little bit more difficult. It's interesting. I used the pattern search feature on Ravelry, and first I was just doing like free or in my library. And this is a free pattern, but for some reason it's there was no yardage listed in the pattern, so when I did the search from 0 to 220 yards, because it's actually 230 yards, it wasn't coming up until I got rid of unchecked that box. Because there was no yardage listed.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it should, I would think 230 yards will knit me a hat.
I would agree, yes.
I'm pretty sure that will happen for a garter stitch hat. So I am working on that. That's the first thing I'm working on. The second thing I'm working on is my
bacon shawl?
My bacon shawl. You're Leslie. Jess is now calling all Yowza shawls the bacon shawls.
I'm sure Susan really appreciates that.
I know. It looks even more bacony now. Like,
I kind of love it, though.
Oh, good. It might be your Christmas present. You gotta own a bacon shawl.
You do.
So it's gotten a little bit further. I worked on it Friday night as I was watching the McCarthys on the CBS app, and it was actually pretty enjoyable. You know who's in it is John Ritter's son. Do you remember John Ritter from Three's Company?
Yeah, he died a few years back, right?
Yeah, and this is his son plays like the main male character. It looks so bacony. So I watched the first 2 episodes because they were free, and really enjoyed them.
But this is the Yowza Wayet shawl.
Yeah, this is the Yowza Wayet shawl by Susan B. Anderson out of some hand spun from Crown Mountain Farms. I love how Leslie refocuses me with that. Which is out of business. I have 550 yards. I'm using size 7 needles, so I'm just playing it by ear.
I really want to knit that shawl in hand spun as well.
Yeah, I'm all about the hand spun shawls this week, and that's in a fat squirrel bag. And then the last thing I have on the needles, actually, Mama Linneman and I had coffee together, and I was working on them then. They're so much farther along. Um, is Dream in Color Everlasting in the Wilderness colorway, and they are in the Nurse Pride Nova Platina needles, which we've talked about before, size 1s. And I'm going to use the Balbriggan heel. I say it differently every time. I love it. By Sock Architecture is the book that's in.
Laura Neal.
So, yeah, this is the first one. I still haven't tried them on. I think they're going to go to my brother-in-law. I have a feeling that they are too big. And then I have the second one. So they might be big enough to go to my father. I haven't decided yet. So there's that. There'll be Christmas for someone. Because there's like a month until Christmas. And I've not even started Christmas knitting. Well, that's a lie. I did Becky's things over the summer, so.
I'm not even doing Christmas knitting.
Yeah.
Not really.
The nieces sent me a picture of them in their scarf and their hats, and I asked Emily if they liked them, and she said they are refusing to take them off. So that's a good
pretty
sign.
Good indicator, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I have on the needles. What's on
okay.
Needles?
Well, I have a couple things on the needles. I haven't worked on the trick sweater or on the Fair Isle hat this week. I've been on call for 12 days straight now, which is super fun. Usually on call for my department isn't bad, but these last couple weeks have been very busy. Last night I had alerts going off every 45 minutes to an hour, so that was super fun. But anyhow,
It's super awesome when things go wrong on Friday and Saturday nights in the casino industry.
Because we don't ever close, so you can't just say, "Oh, I'll take the server down for maintenance," right? It's kind of a pain. Anyway, what I'm knitting, both my projects have been stuffed into my Knit Spin Farm bag that she sent me a while back, and I use it all the time because it's got red in every square, and that makes me happy. But I'm knitting on some Atlantic Current socks. This is a pattern I think will be out this week by Melia Bella. I'm test knitting.
Pretty.
I'm the slowest test knitter there is for her for some reason. I don't know why. But I've turned the heel, just a flap and gusset heel.
I like how the pattern carries down on the heel flap.
Yeah. So I just kept going, and now it's just there's no patterning really left. You just keep going on down until you get to the toe. So I knit on that on and off this week, and then I cast on out of Neely's Knits yarn, and the tag is upstairs, but I've got it linked in the show notes.
I have one of her tags right here because I have my stuff from her.
Yeah, there you go. neelysknits.etsy.com. And I have the DK weight, and it's in the Starry Night colorway.
Oh, cool.
So it's sort of referencing the Van Gogh painting.
Yeah.
And I'm knitting the Pamir hat, which
That's
is
great.
it's a pay-for pattern on Rav. I want to say it's like $3. And it's got a really interesting stitch, texture stitch that is instead of ribbing, but it's just as stretchy as ribbing.
Pretty.
So it's something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking it. The brim I knit on a US size 5, and then the body of the hat I'm knitting on a US size 6. And it's very nice. The yarn is nice and round and plump, and it's got a nice sort of muted color palette.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So it's going well. I don't know whether you can hear that or not. That's the drain thing. I don't know what that is. And Buffy came down, and then the drain thing happened, and she's like, "I'm out."
Something is happening here, and I don't know what.
So yeah, so that's what I'm knitting on. I was a little concerned because it looks very small, but it's actually really stretchy. So
cool.
Yeah, which is good because I wanted this to be for me, not for anybody else. Because I'm a very selfish knitter for the most part. So.
And Knitmores have a Grinch along going on.
They
correct?
do have a Grinch along going on, which I believe they originally had it starting on the 10th, but then they extended it to the 1st. I don't know. It's basically the premise of it is to knit for yourself and not stress yourself out about knitting for other people. And be knitting on, that 50th, Christmas gift right up until Christmas Eve, and making it stressful instead of enjoyable. So, and I'm down for that theory. I am, however,
I like the theory behind that. I don't know
yes.
if that is going to work into my life.
Yeah, I am, however, making 2 full-size quilts for people for Christmas. So I'm not knitting for people for Christmas, really. But anyway, I have no finished objects this week, and I have not spun at all. I have cleaned a little bit of fleece, but only about 8 ounces or so.
I finished cleaning all my Romney.
Oh, cool.
I did it. I had people in my house.
Yes.
So I felt like I had to pick up stuff. So I finished cleaning all around the... I have on the Shactreeves CVM still. I'm on my 2nd bobbin of that. I am on my 3rd bobbin of Cormo on the Ladybug. I just did some sampling of Infinite Twist. This is still really wet. Because I literally pulled it out of the bath like 2 minutes before we recorded. So I designed a shawl for Infinite Twist, Kate of Infinite Twist, and it is the Wizzpopper shawl. And she and I were talking, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool, because she just started dyeing roving, if we did a spinning option? So that is happening. So this is the 2nd half of the roving. I love how it comes packaged. Humberto thinks it's amazing. So in the kit, you'll get 2 of these, or approximately 10.5 ounces of fiber, and then directions on how to sample and keeping control cards. See, there's my single, and there's my applied. And then I did wraps per inch on the actual yarn, the commercial yarn, and before washing of this, and then after washing. And so I will be finished spinning, well, I've sampled, so I'm going to start spinning, if it comes out correctly, the rest of that kit. And then I'll have one to knit, which will be super fun. So that's what's on the sidekick, and then Les's more sweater stuff. Didn't even touch this week on the Lendrum. The poor Lendrum is neglected.
Well,
poor Lendrum.
You also had a bunch of basketball stuff this week, too, so.
Yeah, I had some games that went from 5 until after 10. So, super fun. We do 4 games back to back to back to back. And I keep score, which is less stressful for volleyball than it is for basketball. Because people like to yell at basketball. Coaches, officials,
players.
Actually, the players don't usually yell. Their parents, however, the 8th grade girls game went into overtime. They were tied to 10-10 at the end of the game.
Oh.
Over 52 fouls have been called.
Oh.
And all those 10 points were free throw shots. And so they went into overtime, and Lewisburg ended up winning by hitting a 3 and winning by 1 point in overtime. Like, that was the only score that was hit the entire game.
Poor babies.
And it's stop clock, so anytime the whistle blows, the clock stops. And it was very long. And because the game was so close, like, the Horn Lake parents were very involved.
Yeah. Involved.
In the yelling at the peoples. And I love my parents. They're hilarious, but they get very into it. So that was fun.
Poor babies.
Anyway, totally off topic. So that's what I am spinning. We have a question from Sine1, Sign1. I just went back and watched your first episode, and it was really fun to see you two at the beginning of your video podcasting career. That's one word for it.
Yeah.
How do you think your knitting/spinning skills or attitudes have changed over time? For example, Leslie said she was a monogamous knitter, and now I see her showing, I love how this is in italics, several things on the needles. No judging here. I have multiple projects on the needles, but I've always been that way. Do you want to go first?
I think everybody's knitting kind of changes over time. I think it's, or crafting in general, I think it's more visible with us because we have a video record of our crafting life for the past almost 5 years.
5 years. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that part of it, yes, I would love to be a monogamous knitter and start and have something that I've started that I then work exclusively on until I'm finished. But, you know, I feel like I have to have something for the show. So if it's like a sweater that's just plain stockinette, I feel like I can't just work on that because nobody cares that I've got an inch of stockinette. Like, nobody cares.
My sock that's been going on for like 2 months.
Yeah. And you have to keep it interesting because, like Laura and I have said multiple times, when this stops being fun, then we're going to stop doing it. Yeah. So I have to be able to, you know, if I'm having a crappy day or whatever, cast on something fun and new that gets me remotivated. And also, as we expand our crafting, you know, also 5 years ago, I'm pretty sure I said I would never weave ever. You know, and now I enjoy weaving. I also said I would never clean a fleece, and now that's one of my favorite parts about spinning is the whole fleece processing. So I don't know. I think it's just like, you know, when you're young and in high school and you're an idealist and you're a firm liberal or Democrat, and then as you grow and you sort of mature and you understand the bigger picture, then just, I don't know. I think everybody sort of changes over time.
I think everyone's crafting matures over time. Was I doing any designing when we started? I don't know. Maybe very little designing.
Not much. I don't think so.
A Simple Shawl was out, but maybe...
I think that you started designing as a favor for Hank when she had her kits, and that was part of what got you started.
Yeah, I had done a couple designs prior to that for teaching, like at the shop, but that was basically it. I think we both knit more intricate stuff.
We did used to, yes.
Especially you, more so than me. But I think we've kind of... I enjoy garter stitch. I'm not going to lie. It's one of my favorite stitches. Yeah. I enjoy stockinette and around. So I'm happy with that. But at the same time, I think we push ourselves by doing stuff like trying new heels and trying things that maybe we wouldn't have done before. I don't know. And my spinning has just like, if you would have told me 2008, I had one wheel. If you would have told me I would have 5 wheels, one of which I had no interest in a Saxony style wheel
until a few months ago.
Yeah, like absolutely none until like May. And like Friday night, all I was doing was texting Leslie different pictures of Saxony style wheels that I was finding on the internet. Like, I was like, oh man, there's a Canadian production wheel for sale here. And she's like, you need to get off of eBay. So I think things like SSK though too we've taken a lot of classes because we want to see how different teachers teach, which some have been very good and some have been nah. But we've learned stuff in every single one.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. I think the podcast has changed us, but I think time has changed us more. And I've always not been a monogamous knitter. Yeah. And I will never be a monogamous knitter. And that's part of the reason why I get nothing done. So there.
Pardon me while I give Mom face. Go upstairs. Now.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I would agree. I think Tom's probably, I don't know, I wouldn't have thought that knitting plain stockinette in the round would be enough to make me happy. You know, when I first started knitting, I wanted to knit all the hard stuff right away. And now I'm fine with just knitting in the round. It makes me happy.
And, like, I was not a magic looper. And now I magic loop a lot.
Yeah.
And you were never a 16-inch circular person.
No, I prefer
I was
magic
like,
loop.
you were stupid. Get on the needles. So,
because we're understanding that way.
yeah, that's how our conversations usually go. You're being stupid.
Can you hear this?
It sounds like a dog panting.
Yeah, that is a loose board in the floor above me, and since I sent Kobe upstairs,
He's jumping up and down.
He's going up. Yes.
You have a 6th grader.
He was grounded on Friday because he got in trouble at school, so he hasn't been able to be on the computer all weekend. So it's been this all weekend.
Punishment for mom and dad.
Yes.
We have a book review, which is not punishment, which is very fun. It is by Mercedes
Tarasovich Clark,
who we met.
Yes.
She used to do kitchen sink dye work.
We met her at Stitches.
Yeah, many, many years ago. She's in Birmingham, Alabama, so she's not that far away. And she's done tons of designs, especially for like knitty and interweave over the years. And this is, I think, her first book, although she does have a DVD on brioche knitting as well.
Yes, with interweave.
So this retails for $26.99 in the U.S. and $29.99 in Canada. The lovely people at Interweave or F&W Media sent us this. And it is Brioche Chic. And brioche is a very specific type of knitting.
Yes. And it's not one that I've done, although looking through this book, it really makes me want to try. Like, there's a lot of really crazy looking brioche out there, but the stuff in here actually looks very wearable and like it would fit into your wardrobe well.
Yeah, and the first 26 pages are all really nicely done instructions for beginners. So this is definitely
diagrams,
if
and
you're
clear photos
that you could use. Basically what brioche is, it's a structure where you alternate patterns of slip stitches with knit and purls. So each round is worked in 2 passes. It's kind of like double knitting but different.
But you can do some really amazing things with it. I mean, you have to learn how to read different symbols on the charts because the brioche symbols are a little bit different. But then you can do such just beautiful, amazing 2-color designs and cable work. I really think it's worth trying, and I'm definitely going to give brioche a shot.
So it starts off with a basic brioche scarf, cowl. There's the cowl, which I really love.
Yeah, I think that would be a great way to try. Maybe that's what I'll start with.
And then also there is a shawl, which is really, really pretty.
Yes, the open work triangle shawl.
And the shawl is done out of Bugga cephalopod yarns, which is unfortunately, it's actually Skinny Bugga, no longer in business. But it's a gorgeous large piece with very simple edging. And really, really pretty.
I like the chevron deep V pullover. This is a knit out in DK weight yarn, and it goes from and everything in this book that's a fitted item is meant to be worn with a little bit of positive ease. So it's 29.5 up to 50.5, but it's a very pretty silhouette. I really like the V shape, and it's mimicked on the back.
It's very attractive looking. It looks like it's knit. The body is knit sideways, actually, which is really interesting. But it's very flattering, especially on the model.
Yeah, and I think that even on a larger frame with the direction of the V would be, it would have a slimming effect, which I think would be flattering.
There's some guys items in here. The men's shawl collar pullover. So if you're looking for some guy knits, there's also some guy knits in here, and that is out of a worsted weight yarn on size 8 needles. And that goes from a size 38 all the way up to a 54. Nice clear schematics.
Yes. Very detailed schematics as well.
Yes.
The next chapter is brioche with a twist. So it has a lot of cable-like effects in the second chapter. I like the men's cabled crew neck, which goes from a 36 to a 52-inch chest. I especially like that the sample was knit in a tweed look yarn.
Yeah.
I think it's a very flattering look and a nice change of pace. If you knit your guy a lot of sweaters, this would be something a little bit different.
I like how the stitch charts are boxed out in a different color and nice clear charts. Easily to read. And that they're in black and white, which sometimes are gray and white, which allows you to make a copy and highlight if it's something that requires more than one color.
I like the leaf motif raglan, which is...
yeah, I like that one as well. I like the little detail, like it's almost a pocket-looking detail.
Yeah, with the little leaf here right on the hip.
Quince & Company Chickadee, which is a nice lightweight yarn. It goes from a 30 to a 54, so lots of variety in sizes. It's actually supposed to be worn with 0 ease. And the body shaping is worked with in the front and back, which I find more attractive than along the sides. And you can see more of the shaping right there.
Yeah. I do think that Mercedes made a great call with the yarns in this book. There's a really broad range of yarns, but they're all in colors that don't detract from the pattern.
Yeah, and the book itself is very well styled. The knitwear comes first. Sometimes interweave can get a little bit crazy with their styling, but it's very simplistic styling in this. Even the stuff that's a little bit more busy underneath doesn't detract from the knitted garment. That's the diamond pane camisole, what I just showed.
This is the cowl neck pullover, and it's actually, the measurement is the waist circumference. Because it's a very loose dolman style sweater, and it goes from 35 waist to 62.5 waist. So the sizing in this book is good. I'm happy with the sizing in the book. And I do like that this is sort of an alternative to a sweater. You could make it longer if you wanted, but actually I like it with the cropped length. Even on someone who's heavier, I think that it would be a flattering look.
The next chapter or section is Colorful Brioche, where you get into the color work. I really like the men's textured vest, which goes from a 38 up to a 54. If that is a little bit too loud for your gentleman, you could always do it in like a gray and a black.
Yeah, or two tones of the same color.
Yeah, definitely. I actually like it as shown, but it might be some too wild and crazy for some of the kids out there. And that's out of Brown Sheep Sport. So it's still kind of lightweight, but brioche itself is like double knit, so it would be a little bit thicker, and that's something to keep in mind too when you're thinking about ease in these patterns.
I like the Norwegian style hats and mitts.
I do too. I think the picture is kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. It's a little like Woman's Day 1980, but I do really like the pattern, and I especially like how they've shown it in this rainbow colored yarn.
Yeah, with the
which
white.
Makes me think that it would be good for a hand spun mixed with a solid.
Yeah, that's the Zitron Unisono. So it's a gradient, and then just putting it with a solid just makes it look much more complicated than it really is.
And I like how cleverly done all of the decreases and all the attention to detail on the shaping of the items, and how it all works within the pattern. There's no abrupt changes from the color work to a solid or anything.
The last section is just special topics such as finishing brioche, correcting mistakes, other brioche methods, fisherman's rib, all sorts, and then there's a glossary at the end with even more techniques. So this is a great book if you're just getting into brioche, but also if you have some brioche experience.
I would agree.
Patterns in there. Since brioche is definitely becoming more common, but it's one of those topics that not a whole ton of books have, I think 3 or 4 total books have been out on. So
yeah, and I think that this actually gives you a pretty broad range of projects to play with.
Oh yeah.
So I'm happy with this, but I think it covers quite a lot of information, and it gives you a lot to choose from, and tons of information. Like, you could read this book and not have to go out and watch a video on how to do it, because it explains it well enough in the book.
Definitely. So this is Brioche Chic, 22 Fresh Knits for Women and Men by Mercedes
Tarasovich Clark.
Yeah, there we go. Leslie knew I was going to butcher it. Even though we've met her, I'm terrible with names. And that retails for $26.99, US $29.99 Canadian. Thank you, lovely people over at Interweave, for throwing this our way. It's a great overall resource. Definitely one that I would get if you have any interest in brioche at all. Definitely a more modern take than some other stuff that I've seen out there. For sure. I totally lost my hat. I was in a... Oh, there it is. That's how messy my desk is.
Yeah, right, this is all that you can see of me. And my overhead light went out, so sorry if it's dark.
It doesn't look bad on my end. So things we are reading. I am reading Jacoby by William Ritter. It looks like this.
Uh-oh, that's your stressed face.
No, it's not stressed, and it's really good, but I feel like the cover is a lot to live up to.
It looks very like Jack the Ripper sort of.
So it's Sherlock Holmes. It's definitely Sherlock Holmesian. I would say more like Spiderwick. The front cover says Doctor Who meets Sherlock in a debut novel, the first in a series, brimming with cheeky humor and a dose of the macabre. So it's I definitely get the Sherlock. I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan. I have watched a couple episodes, so I'm not sure how Whovian it is, but it's definitely got like the Irish fairy tale type element to it, where like the crimes aren't being committed by humans; they're being committed by whatever trolls or brownies or fairy, like Faerie versus Tinkerbell. So it's good, but the cover is so good. Like, there's a lot to live up to in this cover. And then even the back cover. Like, it's a lot. And I'm not very far into it. I'm only that far. So it's a lot to live up to. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely going to be something that just cannot keep on my shelf.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy another copy for sure. Very easy to book talk. Extremely easy to book talk to kids. I would say 12 to 16-year-old range. 7th grade to 9th grade probably. Maybe 10th grade. So far, any fan of Sherlock is going to like it. I also read the new Holly Black book. She's writing with Claire, the woman who did the Mortal Instruments series, and it was good. Very easy to book talk, but I can't even remember. Iron Trial. It is very Harry Pottery to like a fault. Like. And I hate to make that comparison because I think both those authors are really good authors. And it's definitely one. So someone does reviews. It's either New York Times or Kirkus, who says, like, borrow it, buy it, or skip it. It's definitely, both these so far have been borrow it. Jacoby might turn out to be a buy it. It depends on how it ends up. But definitely things that I would borrow from my library. But then again, I have a library at my disposal that I can order books for. So, take my words with a grain of salt. But definitely the Iron Trial, unless you have my fear, I would recommend it to kids who like Harry Potter, but my fear is they're going to see the same thing that I saw, like it's very Harry Pottery. Yeah. So that might be a deterrent. Although I kind of think the Septimus Heaps, the first one, is a little bit Harry Pottery too, just from the like kid being abandoned type aspect. So, it's hard to do orphan fiction nowadays without making comparisons to Harry Potter.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway, so you're still reading Quest from Septimus Heap, correct?
Yeah, I haven't touched it for a while, probably 2 weeks, and then I picked it up again today. I sat and read for a little while today um, on it and got like 150 pages in because it's a very light reading. Um, and I started listening to Elantris, which is by Brandon Sanderson, and it's very. I like Brandon Sanderson. My first introduction to him was Steelheart.
Steelheart should have a sequel coming out soon.
Yeah, it does in January.
Okay.
And then of course I read I read the Mistborn trilogy, which was very heavy, much different than Steelheart. And
what's your favorite book that you've read by him? Because I have 3 Audible credits sitting in my account that I really should use up.
It depends on what you like. If you like really long epic stories, then I would check out the Stormlight Archive. They're like 30 hours each, but they're good.
I like epic fantasy.
There's only 2 of 10 out right now, so you would have to wait. So
I'm okay with that if they're 30 hours long. I don't know that I'm going to get very far in those very quickly.
I wouldn't recommend Elantris. I can't yet. I'm only like 6 hours into it, but it's very heavy on politics and religion at this point, which is fine, but it's not what I typically go to in my free time. So, we'll see. I'll probably have more listen to next week. I can give you a better idea.
The jury's out on both our books.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's okay, but it's nothing like with the Discovery of Witches trilogy. I took every spare second I had to listen, and it's not like that with this book. So
yeah, interesting. It's not like chocolate covered potato chips.
Ew. That sounds gross.
Because you haven't had them. I actually prefer chocolate covered pretzels from Sarris's, but whatever. Favorite things. Super excited. The Knit Vents back, which was this awesome thing that
Helen Stewart.
Yeah, she did last year, and I bought it last year and just loved it. I knit the Red Robin shawl. I need to knit the rest of it. She came out with some great patterns. It's one of those things where you buy the ebook and the patterns are released.
It's like an advent calendar, but for knitting.
So that's a good way of saying it. That's why it's called Knit Vent. Mm-hmm. She is doing a 2014 one. The Candlelight shawl just came out. It is a beaded, just gorgeous shawl. And one of the things I love about Helen's patterns is she does like a chart, like a spreadsheet for the directions and the stitch count, but she also tells you what percentage you are. So if you're trying
for people
to
like Laura, it's perfect.
It is awesome. I think she's the person who's doing that for Paula for her patterns for a while too. Where she would say, you know, this is the 50% mark. This is the 75% mark. Which I love that kind of thing. So definitely I love her aesthetic. I love, I think I've bought 90% of her patterns. My sister-in-law just finished her Twinkle blanket and it looks gorgeous out of Socks That Rock.
I really want to knit her Pebble Beach shawlette, which I have, but I just haven't cast it on yet. I love it so much.
A ton of stuff by her that her aesthetic really appeals to me. So I tend to want to get whatever she does. But anyway, Knit Vent 2014 is out. She is giving 25% off to our viewers for both the 2013, which I have, and the 2014, which is coming out. The 2013, you can see every pattern, including Red Robin and some really cool wristers.
And I think if you buy the 2014, you get 2013. I read that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Take that with a grain of salt. I'm almost positive that I read that if you buy 2014, you get the 2013 patterns as well.
She's giving 25% off to our viewers with the code KG25, which you can use on Ravelry at checkout. And it's in the show notes. So, super excited about that. Project Sweater Chest. Leslie and I have not started ours because
this week has been very challenging. So, I'm not going to harp on it and bring you down. We'll talk about Project Sweater Chest more next year, but or next year. Yeah, I'm sure we will, but next week. But Laura did point out that there are some good designers who do a broad range of sizes.
So my sister-in-law and I were talking, and she's never knit a sweater before.
I gifted her one this week.
Other people who have not knit sweaters, and she needs to knit a sweater.
She does. She should start with one for one of those beautiful girls.
And she has small people that she can knit for, and there are a bunch of designers that design in both kids, and then that same sweater is done in adult sizes. And some of those designers are Tin Can Knits, who has some wonderful free patterns
that are also in that entire size range.
Hannah Fedek has like the featherweight cardigan. She's published as a kid's version, but also as an adult's version. Alana Dacos. I like her new, she just did the sweater that was on the cover of her kid's book, the one that's white with the little bits and bobs up here. She also did it as an adult pattern, which I absolutely adore. Ysolda Teague, also known as Yoslanda, if you've been watching the show for a long time.
We say with love, it's not a slur.
No, I just cannot ever say her name right. So Ysolda has a ton. She's got a cute little, like, We One's complete collection, which I may have bought. There's no may about it. I totally the Anne Budd books go from kid sizes all the way up to adult sizes. She's got a top-down one that came out more recently that's just fabulous. And then Elizabeth Zimmerman has the baby sweater on 2 needles, the February baby sweater, that people have done up to adult sizes. Her, that garter stitch coat thing, baby surprise jacket, people have done up to adult sizes. And then she's got a ton of, like, basic formulas for yoked sweaters. They go from kid sizes up to adult sizes. I'm sure there's tons more people. I know Georgie Hallam, the person who did the Milo vest, also has some patterns. If you would like to put more in the Ravelry thread, that would be awesome. But there's actually a Project Sweater Chest thread.
Yeah.
You can comment in, as well as the episode thread. There's some great information out there, and it's all you're doing basically is buying maybe one more ball of yarn or 2 more balls of yarn. I would do it in the same yarn that I do my sweater in. And then you have like a baby shower gift done. If you're like me and everyone in the world is getting pregnant again.
Or charity gift or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Or, just a gift to give away. Speaking of giveaways, we have some Invictus yarn to give away. I wanted to save it for me.
That's pretty.
And keep it for the candlelight shawl because it would be absolutely perfect.
Would.
It is the Reward base in the Haze colorway. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% silk, 400 yards.
Oh, that's meant to be a shawl.
I'm going to ask people what they would make out of it. So link a specific pattern in the Ravelry thread. Tell us what you would make. While you're at it, go over to invictusyarns.etsy.com. Check her out. She's got some really pretty stuff.
She does have some nice stuff.
And she was kind enough to send this for y'all as a giveaway. So
she does a lot of really nice solids and shaded colors.
I agree with that completely. And she also had some gradients, I believe, as well.
Yes, she sent us a gradient kit for SSK for a giveaway this past year.
Oh, cool. So really, really pretty stuff. Check that out. That'll be a thread. The Alice Cal, ALLIS, is still going on. I'm going to work on mine this week. That might be a project that gets worked on next weekend. And then we have our Infinite Twist kits coming out.
We're so fancy. So we started chatting with Kate of Infinite Twist months ago.
You have your shawl? Because I don't know that
I
any.
do.
Where is it?
It's right here.
Oh,
so I was going to give some backstory first.
Okay.
I'll have yours as well.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad someone does.
So we started chatting with Kate of Infinite Twist months back about just the possibility of us doing a design for her, because we both really love the stuff that Susan B. Anderson has designed for her and Lee Meredith and all that. So,
and her yarn's just fabulous.
It is. And she does a lot of, all of her stuff is fair trade. So all the hand spun that she sells in her shop is spun fair trade by,
She's super quality control. She was telling me yesterday that, like, if there's a knot, they just cut it. And they touch it 3 times to make sure that there's no knots.
Oh.
Like, so none of her individual skeins will have knots.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, And Kate is wonderful working with us because originally we were planned for my shawl to come out in September, which was 2 months ago. Um, and she's been really good to work with, and she's great to her designers. And so she's working with both Laura and I. We are releasing kits this week for both of our patterns. The first, mine I'll discuss first just because I happen to have it, is called Trouvaille, which is a French word which means to stumble, for a lucky find, to find, something that you find being sort of a lucky find. And that's what this is, because I was just sort of knitting and then tried some stuff and it ended up looking all right. So that's what I went with. So,
I think it's gorgeous. I got to take the pictures of this when we were at yarn school.
Yes.
And it's got this cool little tie detail, which I just love.
So it's garter stitch with stockinette increases and a very simple shape. And it's triangular, but it's got a detail on the edges. It's got
a little kick boot,
a loop
bottom,
on one, and I-cord length of about 24 inches on the other side. And it's all done as one piece. You don't have to come in and attach it later. So the original reason I did that was so that you could tie it behind, so that you could bring it underneath and then tie it.
Which is one of my favorite ways to wear.
So that you don't have to keep messing with it.
Uh-huh.
And while I love that, and this yarn is so squishy, this is her King Eye hand spun. While I do love that feature, as is typical with Laura, when we were taking pictures, she's like, what happens if you do this? And I'm like, oh my God, it looks like I designed it for that. It looks perfect. So the way that Laura wore it, which I thought was freaking clever and super cute, and I don't know whether I'll be able to recreate it or not, but I will try, is more of a kerchief. And you can actually see the ties this way, which is good because my computer screen is not the most accommodating. And so because it's one tie and one loop, you basically make a slip stitch or half hitch like you would if you were spindling slip knot. Yeah, there you go. And so she did it like this, and it looks like it was made to be worn like that, which I love. I think it's so clever.
I think it's great for like super cold days because you can tuck it into your coat like that, and then you're super bundled up.
And also, if you wanted to, like if you live somewhere where it's really windy, you could hike part of it up and then tie it even tighter, so it's more of a, warm high cowl around your neck.
Awesome.
So I think it's great. I'm happy with the way that it came out. And
I'm gonna knit one eventually.
It's called Trouvaille, and it took, I don't know, like 14 ounces or something of yarn. I don't know the yardage requirements. It's all in the kit, which you can get on Infinite Twist's website. It probably won't be live until the 17th or 18th of November, which is tomorrow. As we're recording, it's tomorrow or the next day. And it will be exclusive to Infinite Twist for a certain time. So if you want the pattern, you have to get the kit. There are 3 kit options for each of our patterns.
There are.
There's mine is the hand spun option, which is the priciest. I'll go ahead and say that up front. It is the priciest. I want to say it's like $150 because it's all fair trade. There's no,
It's yarn that's been hand spun already for you.
Right, and it's the people who spun it are paid a fair wage for that. They're not, third world country, being paid a nickel a day or whatever. They're being paid fairly. There's also a mohair nylon option, which is really soft and like airy and fluffy, and Kate knit that one, and it is beautiful. You'll be able to see it on her blog. And then there's a spin option for the kit. And I don't know how much that one is. I'll have to check on the website. And this one is Laura's pattern. I don't know if you have your version with you.
It's over in the other room.
Okay.
I meant to I almost grabbed it, and then I was like, nope. So, mine, Leslie knit hers out of a different yarn, but the original is out of Helix.
Which is a really lovely yarn.
In several colors. And there's that will be $58. Well, more than that, because that was assuming 600 yards. I'm actually going to, the kit's going to be 700 yards because my testers were using anywhere between 600 to 700, and we want the kits to have, and Kate agrees, to have enough for everyone.
You'd rather have a little left over than not.
Definitely.
Because it's an applied edging, so you really, it would be noticeable if you substitute something else in.
Yes. So there's going to be that. It's going to be a little bit more than what I just said. And then there's going to be a spinning version for 10.6 ounces of fiber, which is going to be more than what you need. That's enough to sample with a good ounce.
And yours has some nice raglan shaping that allows it to sit really nicely on the shoulders.
So it's got a raglan shaping. It was very Shetland inspired. I really, really enjoy it. I actually had it on the model because I actually have like dress form. I had it going sideways at one point, which I also really like it that way as well. It tends to stay put because of that raglan shaping. And it's just a fun little knit. Yeah. So I enjoy doing it. That is the Wizzpopper shawl. Yes. And I'm excited to be spinning for it as well because I think that's going to be lots of fun.
Yeah. I hope you guys will go out and take a look at them. We'll talk a little bit more about them next week as well because the link will be up. But if you follow either of us on social media, we'll probably talk about them once they're actually live on the site.
Yep.
So we also wanted to thank Kate from Infinite Twist because she is just a pleasure to work with.
She's very sweet. Very sweet. So, anyway, what else do we have to talk about? Anything else?
I think that's it. We're a little light this week because we've both just been crazy busy.
We don't have anything to...
Like, I worked grave shift several days this week because of some work stuff. And because, like I mentioned earlier, I work at a casino. And you can't just, I mean, they never close. So you have to try to get there when there's the fewest number of patrons there, which is at like 4 in the morning. So I've had that, and then I've been on call, and I haven't had a solid night of sleep. And it's like having a newborn, like a really whiny newborn.
But anyways, we will be back next week with lots to show y'all for sure. And we will see you then.
Yep.
Bye, y'all.